Hey there, my name is Ann Teagarden, and this is episode 105 of the Unveiled podcast. Thanks for joining me today. So this episode, I've been talking in this series about the keys to healthy relationships. And of course, there's many, I'm just hitting a few, but one of them I wanted to talk about today is a virtue that I could say is a lost virtue, but I don't believe that. It's still around, but it's rare. I don't think we see this virtue very often. And that is the virtue of honor. I think honor used to be huge in cultures of the past. I believe it's still quite large in the Chinese culture, but in our culture, it seems to be getting lost. I know for my dad, he is a great example of honoring women. He stands up anytime a woman walks into a room. He always pulls out a chair for us when we're about to sit down. He holds the door open. He opens the car door for us. He carries our luggage for us if he can. Even in his elderly state, he still wants to carry our luggage for us. And so I grew up with a dad that showed honoring women. And my mother honored my father as well, just in the way that she spoke to him and about him. So I believe that I grew up in a culture of honor, but I don't see it so much anymore. And I got a definition of honor from the dictionary: true nobleness of mind, magnanimity, dignified respect for character, springing from probity, principle, or moral rectitude, a distinguishing trait in the character of good men. And the reason it says good men is that's the 1828 definition. If you look at a modern definition, it's still similar: to regard or treat someone with admiration and respect, to give special recognition to, or to confer honor on. And I just love all those words that use, some of these words we don't even use much anymore. Probity, adherence to the highest principles and ideals, or uprightness. And moral rectitude is moral integrity, right? So we honor someone because of their character. They are deserving of honor. And we honor someone by showing admiration and respect. Now, I do believe that some people get honored just positionally, like we all stand up when a judge enters a courtroom, and we stand in honor of the American flag when the national anthem is sung. So there's some honor that isn't necessarily earned, but it's positional. And I think that's something that's important in marriage as well. I want to honor my husband simply because he's my husband. And I want him to honor me because I'm his wife. Okay, I'm not going to deserve honor every minute of every day, that's for sure. But I hope that he will honor me, flaws and all. And it seems like it's easier to honor people outside our family than it is those inside our family. You know, even Jesus said a prophet isn't honored in his own hometown. It's harder for us because we know these people. We know the flaws that they have. As I said, we know that they're not always perfect, but you don't have to be perfect to deserve honor. So I believe honoring someone is respecting their position. Okay, that's my first principle of honor. Another thing that we need to remember is to not dishonor, right? It's not only honoring, but it's not dishonoring. And I think that we dishonor a lot just by our words, our actions as well. But do we speak ill of the person? Do we criticize them a lot? Do we speak ill of them in front of others? I think that's one of the things that hurts the most, is when someone dishonors us in front of someone else, or we can hurt them the most by dishonoring them in front of others. You know, even our president, speaking of the positional honor, my husband and I have always tried to not speak ill of the president, even if we don't like them or disagree with them. And I remember one time there was a president we didn't care for all that much, but we tried to respect them in front of our children and not criticize. And when it came time for their reelection, the kids wanted to know if we were voting for them. And we said no. And they were surprised because they had not heard us say the negative things about them. And sometimes it's hard. And I will say that I have slipped in the last few years of things with different lawmakers and whatnot. But I do believe that's important and we need to do that. I think also sometimes we jokingly criticize our spouses, and that's not honoring. So if you think, oh, I can say this, I'm just kidding, they probably don't think you're kidding. So I would avoid that. So the second principle I have is honoring someone is not speaking ill of them or speaking ill to them. Now, what does the Bible say about honor? Well, I found that there's over 200 verses that speak about honor in the Bible. Romans 12:10 says, be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Give preference to one another in honor. Give preference. I love that. I looked it up in some different translations. The Living Bible, take delight in honoring each other. Wouldn't that be a great way in a marriage to take delight? The NIV says, honor one another above yourselves. So again, positional. I'm going to put you ahead of myself. The NLV, show respect for each other. Again, respect and honor closely related. The HCSB version, outdo one another in showing honor. Wouldn't that be great if you and your husband were trying to outdo each other, showing each other honor? So all of these verses discuss honoring one another. So I'm not just talking about us honoring our husbands, but how do we develop a culture of honor in our home so that everyone, children, husbands, wives, everyone is honoring each other? And I think that it's, again, a whole culture. We have to model it. So I'm going to say to myself, do I give preference to the other person? Do I put their needs ahead of my own? Do I give them the burnt toast, or do I take it for myself? Do I let them go first when playing a game? Do I ask them what they want to do, or do I just plan what I want to do? And I think that honoring someone, third principle, is not being selfish. Okay, so honoring someone is fighting against that selfish tendency that we all have. I also think we need to honor what other people are thinking. Okay, so do we really listen when someone is telling us how they feel or what they think or their opinion? And then I have to ask myself, do I honor their opinion, or do I just insist on my own? Do I honor their thoughts and feelings and take them into account and weigh them before making decisions? And do I honor the fact that that other person knows more than I do in some areas and has wisdom that maybe I don't have? So fourth principle, honoring someone is listening to their thoughts and feelings and taking them into consideration. Proverbs talks a lot about honor as well. It talks about it mostly from the perspective of receiving honor, and it strongly ties it together with humility. So I want to read some of these. Proverbs 15:33, wisdom's instruction is to fear the Lord, and humility comes before honor. Proverbs 18:12, before a downfall, the heart is haughty, but humility comes before honor. Humility is the fear of the Lord. Its wages are riches and honor and life. That's Proverbs 22:4. And Proverbs 29:23, pride brings a person low, but the lowly in spirit gain honor. So I believe that humility fosters honor. And I believe in that principle of sowing and reaping. So if I am planting honor in my family, then hopefully I will reap honor. So it could be that we aren't reaping honor because we're not showing honor very much to others. Now that principle doesn't work 100% of the time. I realize that, but it often does. It often fosters that, and it may grow over time. That may take time. So humility fosters honor. Now, I think different people find different things honoring. I'm really honored when my husband carries my luggage for me, but other women get very offended if a man offers to carry luggage for them. So again, honor can be situational, and we may want to ask our spouse, what makes you feel honored? I know for my husband, when I compliment him in front of others, he feels honored. If I value his wisdom, he feels honored. So ask your spouse what makes you feel honored. Maybe say, what are 3 things that make you feel honored? And then offer 3 things that make you feel honored. And hopefully they will catch on and begin to do those things, but they may not know what makes you feel honored. Like I said, I grew up in a culture of honor with my dad really honoring women. And Grant, my husband, did not grow up seeing that modeled. So I remember the first time that I visited him from out of town, and my luggage came off the carousel of the airplane, and he handed it to me. And I was so surprised. What are you doing? And he said, well, I'm giving you your luggage. And I said, aren't you going to carry it? And he said, why? It's your luggage. And I was appalled because I had grown up with a father who would have carried it. So I told him, after I carried it a little ways, I told him, no, it's actually your place to carry my luggage. Now, I'm not saying I was right and he was wrong. It was just a different culture, and that was not how he had seen it modeled, so he didn't know. All right, reviewing the 5 principles of honor that I came up with. Honoring someone is respecting their position. Honoring someone is not speaking ill of them or to them. Honoring someone is fighting against selfishness. Honoring someone is listening to their thoughts and feelings and taking them into consideration. And humility fosters honor. And so I believe as wives, we're not to seek honor, but we're to sow honor. And we are to pray for honor, a culture of honor in our homes. Prayer works wonders. So always start there. I think always trying to show it, compliment your husband in front of others. That's pretty much universal that men like that. This week, try doing that and then look at their face and see if they don't look smiling or look like they've been honored. We can also call out the honor in others. I know you may be thinking, my husband doesn't deserve honor. That may be, but there's honor somewhere inside, and we can be the one that calls it out of them and out of our sons and daughters as well. So pray about that, Lord. How do I call out the honor in the people around me that I truly love? And I pray that we will all begin to resurrect this lost value of honor. So join me in trying to do that. Have a great week. Go in joy and peace.